Well, good afternoon. This is Common Sense Parenting with Mr. Denver and Glenn Allison. And I'm telling you, I always ask this question: where in the heck did the common sense parenting go to?
Amen, brother.
And I can remember as clear as yesterday. It's been a lot longer for me and Mr. Denver, but it seemed like you better be ducking if you didn't show respect to your parents. It was just something that never happened, but today it is so common to go to a grocery store or go to the Walmart or wherever and see parents being belittled and talked down to by their own children. Well, we're trying to get back to the good old days when a child understood who was the boss in the family. Mama and daddy have to take that responsibility. Moms and dads have to stand up and say, I am the authority figure. And that's what we're covering in this curriculum. Now, in order to get the most out of this training, you absolutely need to go to our website, theparenthelpcenter.com, and order this book, and we will ship it to you. Then you can open up to page 10, like we will be doing tonight, and you can highlight and underline and watch us discuss what is on that page because there's not anything in this book that's not important, in my opinion. We're highlighting simply because it is very important. We've gone through and on the slides and made everything in red, but in your book, I want you to use a yellow highlighter. It will be a whole lot better. And then as we study this curriculum, you're going to find out that without a doubt, you're going to start changing the way you deal with your children, and they will see a changed parent. That's what it's all about. So, Mr. Dever, you got anything to say before we get started?
Yeah, Glenn, I think it was, absolutely necessary that, we change as parents and we put in the effort to do so. A lot we're looking at today is that we don't want to take accountability for our own actions. And so I think you said it best. We have to take examination of our own selves and take accountability and responsibility for how we conduct our business. And so the common sense parenting makes sense because it brings back the common sense factor in parenting. Like you said, many years ago, um, children understood what respect was, and when they didn't show that respect, it would be a very bad situation for that child, for consequences, because respect was absolutely necessary and still is necessary for a family to be successful.
And it was demanded.
Oh yeah, absolutely, brother.
I'm telling you, mom, I knew very clearly if I ever got mama upset, it was not going to be pretty.
Not good.
And is our kids today have no respect for a parent's authority. And that's sad.
Yeah,
And it's sad because sadly, we have allowed it.
yeah.
Well, we're going to show you how to earn back that respect that we have given away. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to communicate with our kids. And there is a right way and there is a definitely a wrong way. And I can promise you this, all the screaming and the yelling that you have been using or might have used is not going to change behavior. Loving Solutions is about reaching parents with children 10 and below. Guys, I can promise you, if these kids are acting out at this age, you cannot deal with them when they get to be 14, 15, 16 years old. It'll ruin your life. And I can tell you, I've got documented proof how a kid that mama loved with all her heart broke her heart. Underneath the example, a parent asked, why in the heck should I give my kid a positive stroke for doing something he's supposed to do anyway? Well, that does make a little bit of sense, but there's only one real reason. That's because we want our kids to do it again and to keep doing it. Even adults that are paid to do a job occasionally needs a positive stroke. Hey, as a boss man, as a manager, as the owner of your company, you have to do that. You have to recognize these employees, or they will definitely feel like they have been taken for granted and they will not produce as you would like for them to do. And neither will your kids. Positive strokes by a supervisor for doing a good job is what is expected in the workplace. And guys, we need to expect it at home. Our kids need to know you saw them turn off that light. Well, group activity 1.5, doing it right, we want to look at some behaviors that could determine whether a kid gets a positive stroke or not. Taking out the trash without being asked. Is that a big deal or what? Anytime a kid does something that he wasn't asked to do is a time for a positive stroke. That kid needs to know you are proud of him, proud of her, that she cleaned her room, that she picked up her toys, that she did what she should have done. And now it's time to say, I saw it. And if you keep recognizing that with a positive stroke, I promise you, these kids thrive on you seeing them do something right. Taking the trash out is a big deal. Helping a younger brother or sister, giving them a toy, giving them time to play. There are a bunch of opportunities. Hey, how about turning out the light, flushing the toilet? Those are
Yeah.
things that every parent should not take for granted. Any more thoughts on that before we move on, Dever?
It's just important. And even the point in this whole matter, it's easier to increase wanted behaviors than it is to decrease unwanted behaviors. The more positive strokes we give to our children, the more the children will cooperate with those positive behaviors. That's what we're really trying to get to. That really is the goal. And so when we look at it like that, it does the child a great service and it does us a great service because we're not always negative. We're trying to not focus on what is negative, but more rather than what is positive. Now we want to do things to correct bad behavior, but to create wanted behaviors, we have to give positive strokes. Just like in the slide here, it says, giving positive strokes to our children also addresses the often repeated complaints we hear from children about their parents. My parents always tell me when I mess up. And it's true. We always want to point out what is negative, but never put in the effort um, to just make them feel good about something. Don't say, well, you did this, but why can't we just let them relish in the moment that they did something good? Let them feel good about that. And so, we're not trying to win a war or win a game with our children. We're trying to create good behaviors in them. So that is the whole point of this positive stroke.
Absolutely. And by the way, before we go to the next page, you see the highlighted in red. Take your highlighter and go ahead and highlight that because those are very important to help train up a child in the way they should go. So let's go to the next slide. Now, we're talking about communicating from this point on, and it's a big deal how we say what we want to accomplish. There are limits.
Amen.
So, a father driving with his family said to his 10-year-old in the back seat, "Hey, Mike, want to roll up your window?" Question mark. A few minutes later, his son still had not rolled up his window. He repeated the question, which was intended to be more of a directive. "Hey, Mike, didn't you hear me? You want to roll up the window?" A bright child, Mike answered. "You didn't tell me to roll up the window. You asked me if I wanted to roll up the window." Children usually know exactly what we are saying. When they do not comply, it usually because they do not want to and because they did not hear highlighted. Guys, our kids are not dumb. They know exactly what you want. But if you say it wrong, guess what? You're probably not going to get the results you're looking for.
Clear boundaries, clear consequences, clear expectation communicated properly, we get the desired result. That's what we have to do. Oftentimes we say things, and just like the dad in the car, we say things that we won't desire, but we don't phrase it right, and we confuse the child. So it's important for us to be clear with our language, and also clear with our desires for that child, what we want from them. Asking a child, do they want to do something, is simply asking a child. But giving a directive, a parental directive, is what you have to do. You have to say, son, daughter, I need you to do this now. And here is what I expect of you. And this is what I desire. And here's what my expectations are. And when you do that, you send a message, let that child, give them an opportunity to complete the task, and so they can feel good about what they completed. And you follow through with a thank you. You follow through with, and this is all communication, with a thank you for what they've done. That's a positive stroke as well.
Absolutely. And let me tell you one that I flip out over. What do you want to eat tonight, Johnny? Johnny, you're going to eat what I put in front of
On
you.
the table. That's right.
Yeah, I don't understand why parents do that. I don't understand why parents fix a separate meal for a kid who doesn't want to eat what you're eating.
Yeah.
That does not make any sense, guys.
No.
That's why
None
we're training
whatsoever.
a child to sit down and be thankful and appreciate what mom puts in front of them.
That's right.
I guarantee you, when they're 14, 15 years old, no, they won't be appreciating it then. They'll be taking it for granted.
Yeah.
Second paragraph. Any video game addicts in your family? Johnny, turn off the game. Wash your hands and come to dinner. 5 minutes later, when every other member of the family has been seated and is anxiously waiting to eat, mom says in a somewhat more aggravated tone, Johnny, didn't you hear me? I said to come to dinner. Johnny replies in an equally aggressive tone, I heard you, but I can't stop now. I'm almost to the next level.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before. Uh-huh. Well, next paragraph. We prefer to believe that Johnny did not hear us. Yeah. Rather than recognize he is very good at ignoring us. Get your highlighter out. Most
Oh,
of the
yeah.
problems we have with our children are reruns of the same conflicts we had last week and the week before and the week before. What is it that makes us think that repeating the request when the first 1,074 times did not? Are children suddenly going to hear us? Let's face it. Children do not want to do their chores, their homework, wash their hands, brush their teeth, clean their rooms, or scoop the dog poop. That's just not normal for them to want to do it, guys. That's why this communication is so important, that we say it the right way. So why do we keep asking them again and again if somehow that 1,765th time just might be the magic number? Are we playing the lottery here? What will bring us the jackpot? Highlight. In fact, nothing if we keep using communication only. Oh, yeah. There's got to be more of a reason for Johnny to listen to you in the first place. And that's what this common sense parenting is all about. The last paragraph on page 11. Sigmund Freud, the famous psychiatrist, once said, highlight everything on this last paragraph. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Are we all insane? No, we are not all crazy, but most parents have placed far too much faith in communication. Let us be clear here. Communication is not a bad thing. We should communicate with our kids. In fact, it is extremely important to communicate and to communicate well. However, after communication has failed, we need to move on to the next step rather than persist in the past point of ridiculous by repeating ourselves over and over again. Saying it louder the second time and fourth time is not the answer, parents. The result of nagging leads to frustration on who? The adult.
The adult. Yeah.
Anger, hurt, feelings, tension, damaged self esteem, and strained parent child relationships. Our advice here is very simple: stop repeating yourself. Or how about one, two, what did you say? Johnny says, we said stop repeating yourself. What? Go to your room. The bottom line is, guys, this is not a joke. You can repeat and repeat and repeat, and Johnny is not doing nothing until he knows something's going to happen if he doesn't. That's
That's
what
right.
all of this communication is about, guys. It's hard work. It absolutely is going to take your determination and your uh, understanding that they will not get what they want until you get what you want. So,
That's why Glenn implementing consequences during this time lets them know that's a motivator. And age appropriate consequences for not accomplishing the tasks that mom and dad set out to should be implemented um, early and often, so that the child can actually put into practice and develop internal controls, recognizing if I don't do this, then this will happen to me. That's life. That's what in life, and that's why we have laws to keep you in check. If you murder someone, well, guess what's going to happen? In first degree, you'll probably get the death penalty. And so we are teaching our children to live in the real world, even at 5, 10, 15 years old. And the more we do this, the better off they'll become. They'll respect authority better, because when the police stop you and tell you to stop, you know, or doing what you're doing and you don't stop, they can arrest you and put your butt in jail. And so we don't want that for our children. And so every parent must recognize they're the first authoritative figures. And the more you cater to, repeating yourself and giving that child chances, and that you're selling a bad bill of health to your child, thinking they can be able to do that in the real world. And it's just not going to happen that way. Those children are going to disrespect authority outside your home and get arrested, or even some cases dead, because you didn't teach them how to respect people. And so when you allow that child to ignore you, and you do nothing about it, then that is not a very good place for that child to function in life.
it'll absolutely backfire on your parents. Mr. Denver, would you read this for me? In this first sentence, highlight it, parents. Mr. Denver, go ahead.
If words had worked, would you be taking this class? If word worked, your child would have turned off the video game and come to dinner. If words worked, they would have studied for the test, even without you asking, because they listened to you when you told them that was the way to graduate and somebody get that good job. On a more serious note, if words worked, your kids would not join gangs, take drugs, drink alcohol, become sexually active at 14, or die prematurely from the dangerous choices they have made. That
Yes, sir. And highlight those last two sentences. Consequences for not obeying mom and dad would be a negative consequence, not a positive. So the bottom line is we're going to talk about positive consequences next. Mr. Denver, you go ahead and read that for me and highlight that first paragraph as Denver reads.
the most powerful way to increase desired behavior comes from positive consequences, such as giving children access to things or activities they want after they have followed a parent's request or rule. Example: a parent returns home and finds his or her child watching television. Knowing the child has unfinished homework, the parent instructs the child to turn off the TV. The parent explains, "Honey, you may be absolutely turn on the TV just as soon as you finish your homework and have checked." And in this case, the positive consequences for the child is watching television after his homework is complete.
Hold on, Mr. Denver. Let me
Mhm.
point something. That word after, I want you to circle that. In other words, they can take as long as they want to do what you ask them to do, but they're going to be paying a serious consequence until they do the homework. We're going to talk about that in great detail as we go through this curriculum on how to implement a consequence and when to stop a consequence. The bottom line is, it is not until after you get what you asked your son or daughter to do. It's not a bribe. We don't believe in bribes. When we bribe a person, we give them the money before they do the job. Positive consequences is the same concept as receiving a paycheck at the end of the week. Have you ever figured out why boss man don't pay you on Monday? Because you're going to be sick on Tuesday. There ain't no way that works. And it definitely will not work for your kids. The message we want to send to our kids is that we work after we play. And that should be highlighted as well. I hate to see my kids suffer, but loving them means doing what is best for them, not what hurts the least. And guys, that is an absolute fact. Do you think your kids might not be happy when you enforce the consequences? Yeah, they will not, unless you train them from the very beginning. That's what this curriculum is all about. Training up a child when they're young so they don't become your worst enemy when they become an adolescent. Okay, we're on page 13 in your book now. We're looking at group activity 1.6, fun follows work. And by the way, I am a firm believer that every kid in your family has to have chores. Hey, nothing's free, and they should work for the things they want in life. I want you to develop a list as we go through this of situations parents should create at home to allow their kids to experience a positive consequence. The word absolutely. By the way, that's a positive word. That's a good word that we use all the time. Highlight it, underline it, circle it. Absolutely. You can watch TV just as soon as you finish the dishes, just as soon as you finish your homework. That word absolutely diffuses the situation because you didn't say no. Oh, by the way, remember you're working with a strong-willed kid, and they hate the word no. They absolutely hate it. I don't. The only time I've heard no in the last 24 years is my wife says it to me. The bottom line is kids don't like the word no. So when you are asking your kids to, or they're asking you to do something, you better have something for them to do. Pick up the laundry, make your bed, do your homework, cut the grass. There's got to be something. You don't give away everything for nothing. Sure, you can go to your friend's house as soon as your room is cleaned. Another diffuser. Absolutely, you may what? What? Come on, parents. As soon as. These are very good ways to get work done, chores, to allow your kid to do what they want. Nothing is free. So the point, read that for me, Denver.
Use both positive strokes and positive consequences often. It tends to both increase children's positive behavior and help children feel better about themselves. Using the words absolutely or sure works like a miracle. It reduces the argument, and that is the goal. We don't
Yeah,
want to argue with our children about chores or different things of such. But when you put a chore in there for them to do in order to get something from you, then now you've now diffused the argument, but you also teach that child to work for what they want. That's what you're teaching them by doing it this way. You don't have to say no. You can say yes, but then put a tag on it, and you get all the things that that child needs to do accomplish in their life, like clean their room, wash the dishes, or whatever. Clean the bathroom. It makes a difference, and it makes sense. And this is why common sense parenting is so important.
absolutely. So, guys, we're going to stop here, and we're stopping for a reason. We could go on for an hour, but most of the families we work with don't have an hour to sit down in front of a computer. We're doing it in short segments so you can take this 30-minute time out, go to your book, read what you need to do. And if you've got another 30 minutes, you can invest as much as you want. We just break it down in 30-minute segments or less. So get ready. Help and Hope is on the way.